Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. I think I've unmuted myself, but I would just like to say the people before me have been fantastic. And they're obviously doing everything they can to help everyone. And I don't think I'm here to help people. I'm just here to motivate people. And my motivation in life has been go and get it. If you want it, go and get it. Nothing stops you apart from you. Um, I just think in the world, I was 17 when I opened my first business, and people said, "Are you crazy?" I mean, 17 and opening up a business. I had £500. Regrettably, my mother died when I was really early, when I was really young, and that sort of gave me the backup to open up this business. My dad and my stepmother went to Australia, so I was 17 years old, stuck by myself with my brother and me, and we opened up a shop called Mickey Finn. Everyone knows what a Mickey Finn is, I'm sure they do, but when you're 17, that doesn't really matter. What mattered to me was I didn't want to fail at anything I wanted to do, so I wanted to be different. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to do something which was a little bit better than we had locally. And at the time, we had Burton's, we had Hepworth's, and things like that. And in the end, things really panned out. People were coming into the shop left, right, and centre. They loved what we were doing. They loved what we were selling. And by the time I was 21, I had 7 shops, 30 staff, and it was just all tickety boo. But the thing is, you can have all that, but you need everything else with it as well. You need the staff to be loyal. You need everyone to be loyal. And the thing about it is, you should never really think about the money, because if you start thinking about the money, that's when you're going to fail. And so after I gave all that up, I sold the whole lot because I thought, it's not really what I want to do. I wanted to get something in a gentle trade. It was a cutthroat trade being in Mickey Finn. And some of you people out there, you probably are in cutthroat trades, and you probably are thinking, I need to make some money. I need to do this. I need to do that. But being a punk rocker is not about making money. When you're a punk, you can do anything you want to do. You get out there, you do it, you get up in the morning, and you should be happy to get up in the morning. After I'd done the Mickey Finn shops, I opened up a wine bar. And the reason I opened up the wine bar, because when I was in Dover we were in those days, but when I go to France, I could sit down anywhere in a cafe and I could have a glass of wine and a bit of cheese. But I come back to Dover, and in those days, you couldn't even have a glass of wine in a pub. It was like you open from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, and then open up 6 o'clock to 10:30. And none of them had wine facilities. If you went in there and said, "Can I have a glass of wine?" No, sorry, we don't sell wine. After that, we got the license to have McCartney's Wine Bar, which was a fabulous place. If you lived in Dover, you'd know about it. I'm just going to get back a bit because I feel like I'm too close to it. I hope you can still hear me. If you lived in Dover, it was just a great place to be. So the French people would come over. They would come and have their glass of wine, their bit of cheese, a bit of lunch, steak and kidney pies, throw in a bit of English, I used to say. Chicken and mushroom, you can't beat it. And that was a real success, but at the end of the day, it still wasn't what I wanted to do. And I got to the age of 30 and I thought, do you know what? I want something else. And look behind me, there's a bit of, that way around. The bit of art there. And art was where I wanted to be, really. Art and antiques. It just got me like a kid in a toy shop. I was living in this house and the man knocked on my door. And he said to me, exactly what you're looking at now, that picture behind me. That picture behind you? He said, "Do you want 100 quid for that?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I'll buy it off of you." And in those days, it was the Brighton Knockers. And the Brighton boys, and this is why I come back to Brighton, were the team. They were the boys who went out there. They knew their stuff. Any antique dealer in Brighton, any art dealer in Brighton, they know their stuff, I tell you now. And I thought, why is he offering me 100 quid? And the old mind ticked over, the profitability side of it. So I went to the library the next day and I started looking up. Ethel Lucy Adams was her name, the artist. And I looked her up. You can look her up now, you'll still find her. And she exhibited at the Royal Water Society and the Royal Academy. I'm thinking, she's got to be worth more than 100 quid. And as I'm studying all this, I'm thinking, there must be more to it. There must be more art out there. So that was it. I was on the road. I was there. And after that, I started buying and selling a few paintings. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I'd buy a few. I'd buy them in the provinces and I'd take them up to London. And I had a good connection with a big company up there called Thomas Agnew and Sons, which was probably one of the top dealers up there. And one of the people I met in there was a man called Mr. Plummer, I think his name was. But I took a James Baker Pine oil painting. Might not mean much to you, but it meant a lot to me at the time. And he was one of the only people who kept a complete reference of all of his art. So if you go to the Victoria and Albert Museum now and say, could I have a look at the archived works of James Baker Pine, they would get this massive book out and it would be numbered and it would be where he painted it, who commissioned him. And that was just the charm of art for me, to find out that someone could actually log all that and who commissioned it. And I found out that commissioned this painting of Italy was Thomas Agnew's dad. So obviously they were interested in buying it back. There again, I made a profit. And from that, I just kept going and going. I thought, you know, this is such a fun trade. So I opened up an auction house. And that was even better because when you went into an auction house in those days, there was no internet bidding. It was, you know, just you go in, you put your hand up and you're buying it. So I thought, I want to open one of these. It was just such fun for me. So I opened up the first auction room in Folkestone in the tin shed. Well, it was a tin shack really, but more like a shed. And it became very, very successful because if you work hard and you've got the ethic of working hard, even in these times of pandemics and everything that's going on in the world, if you can say to yourself, I'm up in the morning, I want to do something. You don't have to stay in bed. You don't have to sit indoors. You just want to do something. And I wanted to do something. I wanted to keep this and I wanted to make it successful as I could. And it kept going and going and going. And I made it a real success. We had 25 staff. We had the television companies coming up to us saying, can we film you there? And I'm like 50 years old. I'm thinking, well, it's a bit late in life to be on the telly, but there you go. These things happen. And I met my pal, David Dickinson, who was a friend of mine before that anyway. And he was doing Bargain Hunt. And all of these experts on the telly, they do know their stuff, trust me. Some of them are very knowledgeable. People like Philip Serrell and God rest him, David Barbie, very good friends of mine. Braxton, James Braxton, you know, they do know their stuff. And I was in with them and I realized then that I haven't even been to university. I haven't even been to art college. I haven't even studied this, but I actually knew enough to sort of compete with them. And you learn your trade through the street. You know, you learn your trade. You either go to university and learn a trade or you learn it on the streets. I'm a street boy and I learned mine on the streets. And I still feel proud of what I did with that auction room. You know, I sold it in 2004. We had the television company come in and they liked us so much, my family, that they did a program, BBC One, called Auction Man. And that was a primetime television show, which was incredible. But I mean, it was like being the first reality star because it was 2003 before Only Ways Essex, before these ones were out now. But they followed me and my family around, my wife Leslie and my daughter Emily, for 6 months. And wow, I mean, take it from me, that's pretty stressful. But at the end of the day, we had a good bit of fun about it. And a nice program came out and it was very popular. And from that, they asked me if I'd write a few books, which I wrote 3 books. And thank you for promoting that earlier. I might even get a bit of royalties because when you write books, you don't get royalties. You know, they say to you, "Oh, yeah, you know, you'll do really well out of this. You'll make a lot of money out of it." But no, you don't. Trust me. I think I sold like 20,000 books and ended up with like £4 out of it. But I'm sure there are people who do make money out of books, so I shouldn't say that meaningfully. That's just a bit of fun. But there are, you know, there was good perks out of it. So I wrote those books, they came out, and then we went on to do a bit more television. And then I thought I'd made enough money to retire. And actually I hadn't. I had to go back to work. So at 60, I opened up another sale room. During that time, my wife and I got married 22 years ago. And one of my best friends is Vic Reeves. And you probably know him on the television for his work with Bob Mortimer. But to me, he's Jim Moyer. And he's a very good artist. And 25 years ago, when I first met him, he gave me some pictures which he'd drawn. And I said, you know what, Jim, these are really good. You should do something with him. He said, oh, I'm on telly, you know, I don't need to be doing that. but he always had this passion for art, and all of his shows, if you look at all of his earlier shows, all of the art in the background was all Jim's work. And as things progressed, you know, we were getting, well, we've been friends for a long time. We drink a little bit together and we play a lot together. Excuse me. And I said to him, why don't I be your art agent and see if I can start selling your art? And about 8 years ago, this was. And I was sort of getting not fed up with the auction room, because you never get fed up with being an auctioneer, but the charm was going out for me. It was a bit mundane. I wanted another challenge, really. And he said, yeah, why not? You know, and he was with a company then. I said, well, take it out there, give it to me, and I'll see what I can do with it. And I think he was doing probably, you know, just about 4 or 5 figures a year. But the art was not being promoted properly. So over the last 8 years, we've now taken it to a very, very, very successful art world. We have exhibitions in London, we have exhibitions in the Royal Academy, Jersey, Manchester, Newcastle. And the thing what's done it is the website. And we've got a website now called vicreeves.tv. And that really has become the retail world. The retail world is history. I would hate to have a high street shop. And all the people who are saying like, oh, well, this is that and this is that. But trust me, nobody goes into shops anymore. I walk in around Canterbury and it's almost like derelict. Everything seems to be closing down. And this is all because of the pandemic. Will it come back? I think it will, but it's going to take time. And if you are sitting at home now thinking, what can I be doing with myself? Open a website, do a website, put yourself out there, you know, do all this Instagram and all this TikTok and all that. That's where the money is now. And I'm pleased to say, I don't make loads of money, but I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to be happy. And I'm very happy. I wake up happy, I go to sleep happy. And people say to me, well, how can you do that? I just say to yourself, be positive. Take everything positive and no negativity in your life. And everything which you think is a negative, turn it into a positive. Trust me, it'll work. And I can't offer, you know, a lot of what these other speakers were offering, but what I would say to you is, I do my bit for charity and I would help any charity. My profile has given me the opportunity to do charity work. And I do it under the background. I do it in the sidelines. We do a lot of charity auctions. And over the years, I've raised money for Nelson Mandela, Richard Branson, cancer. I would support cancer until it comes out of my ears. My mother died of cancer when I was 7 years old, and my mother-in-law died of cancer, and that was a year ago, and that really is painful. So I will help anyone I can. If anyone's out there and they want a charity auctioneer, that's my gig. Give me a shout. I'll finish it on that, and so I hope I've helped you somewhere along the line.